Dobro večer, dobrodošli. Podatak 018 večeras posvećujemo aktuelnoj situaciji političkoj, ali i ratnoj. I sigurno sam da i sami znate, već pratite svakoga dana. I dalje traje sukob između Izraela i Hezbolaha. Ljudi u Palestini u ovom trenutku imaju velike probleme sa snabdevanjem strujom. Sa druge strane, Izrael je odlučio da potpuno uništi Hamas, jer kažu da ta teroristička organizacija prilično ugrožava život u Izraelu. Taj sukob ne traje od juče, taj sukob traje prilično dugo. Kakva je trenutna situacija? Večeras bi trebalo da saznamo od našeg i vašeg gosta, gospodin Eli Nacht, zamenik gradonačelnika grada Aždoda u Izraelu. Ovo je inače najveća luka u Izraelu i jedna od najvećih luka na Bliskom istoku. Razgovarat ćemo večeras sa našim i vašim gostom na engleskom jeziku, a vi ćete imati prilike, kao što rekoh, da iz prve ruke čujete kakva je situacija u ovom trenutku u Izraelu i u pojasu Gazde. Mr. Nacht.
Gospodine Nacht, dobro večer, dobrodošli. Možete li nam, molim vas, pomoći da razumemo uzroke sukoba između Izraela i palestinskog naroda ili Hamasa? U čemu je razlika?
No, it's a very complicated question. Hamas is well known, recognized by many countries as a terror organization. They took over the Gaza Strip in 2007 in a very violent way. All those who opposed Hamas, like the Fatah or other Palestinians, we've been slaughtered and killed. Thousands of Palestinians been killed by the Hamas themselves. People there are living under a tyranny, a terror regime. And we saw many of demonstrations saying free Palestine. I think that we need to free Palestine from terror. This is the first thing. From 48, the moment Israel was established, Israel never started any war or any military operation by itself. It always been attacked by others, by countries, by Palestinian terrorists, and all we wish is just to live a normal life. Unfortunately, we have a lot of excuses for those who call themselves Palestinian, why we are the Israelis are, let's say, disturbing them living a normal life. But it's all excuses because they're speaking about the land. But before the 67, before the borders of 67, there were still terror attacks. And there was no question about the land, because all this land that we are talking right now was belonged to Palestinians. So it cannot be the excuse. Otherwise, before the 67, it could be peace. Their situation is very bad. The Palestinian people, the Gaza Strip, are living in a bad condition. But it's also not an Israeli fault, because we see right now that all the money and all the resources that the international community and some other countries, Arab countries, who are also supporting terror, like Qatar and others, and Turkey, who are sending to Gaza, are not ending up with the Palestinians. They're ending up in the bank account of the Hamas leaders. And we saw just recently in Time magazine and Newsweek magazine and all the international magazines around the world that the bank accounts of these leaders of Hamas are $4 or $5 billion. By the way, when Yasser Arafat, the former leader of those Palestinians, passed away, they found out that in his bank account there was also about $5 billion. So we understand that the one who was actually stealing the money from the Palestinians and preventing them from living a normal life, of course, is the Hamas and the leaders of the Palestinian people. Instead of taking care of them, they are taking care of building weapon, ammunition. They are educating the children from the age of 0 of hating anyone who are not jihadists. They hate Jews, they hate United States, they hate Israel, they hate Europe, they hate everybody who doesn't want to establish a caliphate region, country, empire based on the Sharia laws. They want to bring the humanity and the civilization to the 14th century. This is their idea, and anyone who opposes it needs to be dead. And since in Israel and in the Middle East we see it all, in a zoom-in figures, I believe that what is going on in Israel right now is a promo. And the full movie will happen in Europe in a few years from now, because all this ideology exists also in Europe, unfortunately. And that's why I believe myself that when the free world, the Western world, are looking at what's happening in Israel right now, fighting with terrorist ideology, Hamas, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Nazi regime are all exactly the same. They need to think once again on which side they are standing, because the television in Europe, unfortunately, some of them are still in a false conceptions of a poor, miserable Palestinian and big, powerful Israel, and he is the one who's to blame, because if Israel is so powerful and they are so miserable, so probably automatically it's the fault of Israel, but it's not.
Yes, we have that pictures in
Da,
social
imamo
media.
te slike na društvenim mrežama. Možete li komentarisati te slike? Imamo i poslednju brojku od više od 13.000 ubijenih.
So first of all, you need to understand that all the numbers that you're receiving are false numbers, they are fake news, because all the numbers are coming from the Hamas. And of course, their idea and their will is to exaggerate, to maximize these numbers, to show the maximum number of, let's call them innocent, being killed by the IDF army. So all these figures and all these numbers, I wouldn't actually take them seriously. We don't know what are the exact numbers right now. And of course, by the way, just a few days ago, the Palestinian Authority Ministry of Foreign Affairs said that all the people that been killed on the Nova Festival when the terrorist attack actually were killed by the Israeli helicopters. So their propaganda and their lies are so big, so taken seriously, those numbers of victims right now in Gaza, it's almost a joke, I'm sorry. That's why I don't think anyone, any television that respects itself should reflect these numbers and reflect this information that Hamas is feeding the Western TV. Unfortunately, it's very convenient and very easy to take some pictures of children or women from who are living right now in Gaza and suffering and show them on the TV. But we need to understand that the Palestinians and the Hamas terrorists are using those children and those women especially for this purpose. They based their army bunkers just under the hospitals, under the mosques, under school, under kindergartens. They want their children to be killed. They are desired. They think that they are suicidal themselves. They are suicidal. They are going to Israel or to other countries. You see, we also see those in Europe. They are bombing themselves, exploding themselves, yes, and trying to cause as many civilians to be killed. They believe if they will die in a suicide manner, and together with them they will kill as many people as possible, they will be blessed, and this is the wish of Allah. This interpretation of the Quran or the Islam, it's so sick. It's so sick that we cannot call it even Islam. I don't believe any Muslim who respects himself and read the Quran Bible understands from the Quran that you need to kill pregnant women, children, rape them, cut their head, and play soccer with the heads of the children that you just cut. If this is what the Quran says, sorry, I don't know what more I can add to it, but I don't think this is the truth, okay? And there is some radicals, and they keep educating the next generation in this radical ideology. And what we need to do, we need to make a full stop to it. Because if we will not make a full stop to it, the bloodshed that is going right now, as I said before, this will be just the beginning of what will happen in Europe, in the United States, in the Middle East, because this is the war between two civilizations. The civilization of a stone age of Shariat and civilization that wants to live in a good welfare as Israel, who been a very innovative country in agriculture, in medicine.
Are you saying you are defending the world?
Da li vi kažete da branite svet?
I'm not saying that we are defending the whole world, but right now we are trying to do our best to defend the values and the ideas of the free world as Israel living by them. And Israel is living by the values of a democratic country, of a human rights, of a culture that you in Europe live exactly the same. You don't live here in Europe in a Shariat manner with imams who is ruling, who needs to die, and for what punishment. You have tribunals and courts for it. So they prefer, of course, a different kind of world, a different kind of world. If you remember how Osama bin Laden lived and what happened in Afghanistan and all other countries, and if you're willing to live such a life, so maybe this is a civilization for you.
Ima mnogo izbeglica ovde u Evropi. Poslednjih 10 godina imamo, kako to da kažemo, otprilike reku izbeglica koja dolaze u Evropu i na evropski kontinent. Šta nam možete reći o tome?
Big mistake for Europe. It's already changing the culture and the political situation in Europe. There are already places inside of Europe and in Western Europe especially, when the police and the army are not going inside, they are afraid of it. They're afraid of them. There is a lot of criminality going there. There is ghettos inside countries like Belgium, United Kingdom, France. We see that there is a lot of radicals among those people, of refugees, because they were not educated in the manner as people in Europe been educated. They have a different understanding of a place of a woman, of a LGBT community. All their view on life and on human rights and on a democratic regime is completely different of the view of the European people. And right now, the demography is a key factor to what's going to happen in Europe. And if you will understand it as soon as possible, as I believe the Prime Minister of Poland is understanding this right now, yes, and in Hungary and other countries that want to keep their country and the character of the country as it is, a European country, and not a middle-aged country with barbaric people inside planning and creating terror cells just to attack civilians for the greatness of Allah. And right now, we've been the first in Israel who has been handling and entering into a war with this of barbarian people. I believe that all Europe needs to be united right now and think of, first of all, how to help Israel to survive these barbaric attacks, and secondly, to think of themselves, what they are going to do in the next few years when all this war will come to their backyard, and it will come. Be sure about it.
Do you know that we have some problems in the north of
Da li znate da imamo nekih problema i na severu naše zemlje sa izbeglicama, ali naša vlada preduzima sve mere kako bi okončala sukob između njih. Oni se međusobno sukobljavaju.
I'm not that familiar. I will tell you the truth about the Serbian geopolitical situation right now. I just can say something that I understand generally, that what happens, because I see the numbers of the Muslims penetrating into Europe and other institutions of Europe. I know that inside of Islam mosque, there is a radicalization that is going on by the imams themselves inside the mosque. They are teaching how to kill. They are once again educating the young generation to follow their leads of Allah, who is willing and want once again to kill all of those who are unbelievers. And it doesn't matter, by the way, if they're Jews, if they're Christians, or even if they're Muslims. As long as they're not the believers in the way they see it, they need to die.
Ali složit ćete se da imamo i dobre muslimane. Naravno, da li su oni većina?
Of course, I believe that 90% of the Muslim population, and that's what the scientists are saying, 85 to 90% are good people who wants to live their life, who wants a normal life for their children, who wants to go to work, create something good, and be, valuable citizen to their society. The problem is, because of the big numbers, the huge number of those refugees, as you've been saying, millions and dozens of millions, and Muslims around the world, there is 2 billion Muslims. So even if you think about 10 to 15% of those radicals, 10 to 15%, it's about 150, 200 million radical Muslims who are potentially could be, in the end, terrorist or suicidal or whatever it is. And in Europe, if you will figure out this 10-50% of the radical Muslims, once again, the 90% and the vast majority of the Muslims are, once again, good citizens who just want to live their life. But it's enough that you will have only 10% of them in such big numbers. You're creating a bomb that might explode. And this is what the intelligence of the European government and the politicians and the decision makers need to understand and to figure out how to deal with it today. Because we understand, and Israel unfortunately is on the edge of this, let's say, of this war. I don't know any other word to choose. We understand that the finance is the origin, is the source of all the evil are coming from Iran. And we see that Hezbollah is financed by Iran, and Hamas is financed by Iran, and the Houthis in Yemen are financing by Iran, and many other old terror organizations. All of this evil are coming from Iran and Qatar and this coalition. And that's why we need, and I know already that Germany decided to take care of it. They said that the government, that they will freeze all the bank accounts and all the financials of Hezbollah. And I think that we need to follow the money. Europe needs to understand, because all this ammunition and training and everything that they're doing right now, all the preparation costs a lot of money. And if we will be able to lead the retreat of this money and confiscate this, freeze them, take them from the terrorist organization, I think it will be a good start for starting this confrontation with them.
Ali Jemen gomila vojne snage na granici. Šta nam možete reći o tome?
I say that I feel bad for the Yemen government, because Yemen government is trying to fight these terrorists already for a long time, and they are not a legitimate, of course, ruling government there, the Houthis, and they are also been bombing and fighting against Saudi in the border from the Yemen side. And once again, we see that all these terrorists are not just Israel problem. Once again, we see another proof that when it has to do with Yemen, Saudi, other countries, they don't care. They don't care. For them, if you are not like them and believe in what believing they are, they need to fight you, we need to kill you, we need to eliminate you, demolish you. And this is their idea. And that's why, once again, it's not only Israel problem, it's the problem of the world. And when Al-Qaeda was doing what they are doing, you probably remember the 9/11 and everything, there was a coalition of United States and also Western countries who've been fighting and hunting them down. And that's what we need right now. We need to focus. By the way, ISIS, let's talk about ISIS. ISIS almost been disappearing nowadays because the coalition of United States and some other countries understood they need to deal with it seriously. And when they decided to do it, they completed the mission. We don't hear about ISIS anymore. But this is the same ideology. This is the same disguise. It's just a different name. But the origin is the same. The money is the same. The ideology is the same. So why not to deal with the Hamas? Why not to deal with all the other terror organizations that we already know them as holding the same ideas and preparing themselves for the day when they attack?
Moram vam reći da vas potpuno razumem sve što govorite, ali možete li nam objasniti zašto bombardujete bolnice? Šta se desilo u bolnici Al-Shifa?
But first of all, we are not bombing the hospitals. Okay, this is the first of all. We took over the hospital. We take care for all the people inside to receive medicine in there. Right now, just yesterday and the day before, we showed the whole world, our soldiers, the tunnels under the hospitals and the ammunition and the computers with the images of the kidnapped Israelis, and not just Israelis. There's also Serbian people there, as you probably know, and there is actually hostages from 35 countries. Once again, they don't care. They don't care. Israeli, not Israeli, Jewish, not Jewish, they don't mind. And we saw that many of those operations are taking place from beneath the hospital. By the way, they are stealing from the hospital. They're stealing from them oil. They're stealing from them solar, some energy, because they understand that no one can resist them inside the Gaza Strip, and the UN continue to give help, of course, to the hospitals and not to the terrorists. And the terrorists just stealing this help and these resources from the hospital itself, and using, of course, these bunkers under the hospitals, understanding that Israel will not bomb the hospital itself. By the way, they tried with their propaganda to blame us for bombing the hospitals, but we proved that this was their rocket who fell close to the hospital itself. Once again, another lie and another fake. And this is another reason why you should not anyone believe to any fact that they're saying or doing during this military operation.
Svi su smatrali da su Mossad i Shin Bet najmoćnije obaveštajne službe na svetu. Da li su Mossad i Shin Bet imali neka saznanja o tim tunelima ili bunkerima o kojima pričate?
So, let's say like that. First of all, on the 7th of October, when everything happened, something was wrong, going wrong.
Obviously.
And obviously, exactly, this is nothing, no one need to say or even mention that something was wrong. Right now, we are not dealing into investigating this right now. We need to finish this war and not blaming each other and trying to point fingers. So right now, we are dealing on a different aspect on the military side. Of course, there will come a day we will have to understand exactly whose fault it was, why it happened, and not just because we want to find the one to blame. We want, of course, to make ourselves better prepared for the next time. Right now, the Shin Bet is doing as much as possible with all his intelligence in order to, let's say, destroy all the abilities of the enemy. We knew about these tunnels. We told the whole world about these tunnels and what they are doing. During many years, we've been talking to them about they have the same tunnels under schools, under UN institutions, under mosques, but nobody heard us. We cannot, unfortunately, act in the same way as Russia acted in Chechnya or Afghanistan, or as United States acted in Afghanistan or in Libya. Okay? This is a double standard. What other big countries and might countries can do to others, we cannot do. We need to show, we need to prove, we need to excuse, we need to argument, we need to do a lot of things before we actually act. Today, it's a completely different situation. Today, after what happened, or this pogrom that happened on the 7th of October, we act. And then we prove. And then we show. And every day we have proofs, videos, pictures about what is happening under those mosques, under these hospitals, under school. I saw myself that in the backyard of a school and a kindergarten, there was just missiles and Kalashnikovs, just a bunch of them lying right there. I know every kid can take it or see it or even, for God's sake, use it. This is something that is not considered to be normal in the 21st century. And this is what we are trying to avoid.
Yes, you bring to us some videos. Can we...
Doneli ste nam i neke video snimke. Možemo ih sada prikazati, pa vas molim da ih prokomentarišemo. Prikazat ćemo neke video snimke tako da možete i vi da ih vidite. Šta vidimo?
This is me being in the border of the southern villages, of the communities who live there. As you see, this is what they burned the family houses. They killed anyone who was there, who was trying to run. They burned babies, handcuffed women. I cannot even imagine myself that something like this could be done.
We don't see any bodies, but...
No, I don't. I didn't want to send you the bodies with all the respect. Yeah, this is not a good view, but it's people who lived there before, of course, are not living there right now. They're afraid of coming back. They say that they will come back only on one condition: if there will not be any more threat from Gaza soever. Something that needs to be done with the Gaza Strip, and I can shortly give you my idea what needs to be done with the Gaza as a solution. As I see it, this is maybe not solution of my government, but this is the solution of the Israeli society today. We understand perfectly that those Gaza people cannot continue to live there anymore.
Da, ali premijer Netanjahu odbija predlog o formiranju dve države.
No, right now we even cannot talk about this. It sounds ridiculous. It sounds ridiculous because there is no one that you can negotiate. There is no one who is a legitimate leader. There is no one on the Palestinian side who is recognizing the state of Israel. There is no one who wants to live a normal life beside Israel. It's just impossible. Right now, talking about two-state solution, it's a joke. I'm sorry, it's a joke. After what we saw, and that's why, as far as I see it right now, and I told you already that people in the Gaza Strip are suffering a lot, and mostly during all those years they're suffering from their own terror regime and tyranny of Hamas that took over their government in Gaza Strip. And of course there is no freedom of speech, and there is no any other freedom that they can speak up loud or resist this regime. And I believe today all the Gaza Strip people need to start their life in a good country, a new life. There will be no Gaza Strip as you know it today, and we don't want it to be once again as a place of a greenhouse of terror. And there's a lot of countries, let's say Egypt is on the border of Gaza, who can let those people inside and help them. They're their brothers after all. Yes. Jordan, the one who is also on the border of Israel, 70% of the population of Jordan are Palestinians. They can accept those Palestinians into their borders and help them. Qatar, who was sending billions of dollars and so care about those Palestinian brothers, can take them. Erdogan making demonstrations and declarations saying how he feels about his Palestinian brothers. He also can take care for those Palestinians and get them into his country. There is about 40 Muslim countries, 40, with billions of populations, who can take care for these 1-2 million Palestinians on their side. And that's how I see it. I think that the international community, all of it, needs to help those Palestinians to start a new life, to give them money, to build a new house, to start a new life. And there is a lot of... No one should live in Gaza from those who've been there before. This is my own opinion. To repeat once again, the same mistake. No Palestinian in Gaza.
Do I understand you?
Yes, this is what I feel. This is what many of Israelis feel. It's impossible because impossible. You need to understand that Israel left Gaza in 2005. Okay. Palestinians didn't see an Israeli or Israeli soldier or Israeli civilian during the last 18 years. Never in their life. All the young people who committed this terror attack on the 7th of October, all the young people, there was only young people there, they probably never saw an Israeli in their life. But they hated them so much. The only Israelis that the Gaza Strip people saw is those Israelis who was given the work. Because we give thousands and dozens of thousands of permits each day. 20,000 Palestinians crossed the border into Israel and worked inside Israel. Because of the misconceptions in Israel that if you give them work, if you give them money, if you give them a normal life, they will return you with the same attitude. There will be gratitude. They will appreciate this. But this poison ideology, from the age of 0, we saw the school camps of small children, 5, 6, 7 years old. They're disguised as terrorists, they're holding Kalashnikov, with suicide suit, and they're calling Allah Akbar, killing the Jews. If you educate your children during the last 20 years in this manner, you think they will grow up to be teachers, doctors, scientists? What is going to be their contribution to the world, to the civilization, to you and me? What is their value? I don't want these people near me. I don't want. Not my family. No one in Israel deserves to live beside this threat, waiting for the moment when it will explode again. I don't think this is something that any nation deserves.
In that case,
U tom slučaju, da li se bojite osvete Palestinaca negde u budućnosti?
Listen, they are threatening Israel from the first day the state of Israel was established. Each day they are trying to execute some terror attacks to kill people. Every day they shin bet, as you said, preventing terror attacks, that you never heard about them, and the Israelis never heard about them. But I know, each day, dozens of terror attacks in Israel and in Europe, all around the world, is being prevented. So if you ask me if something will change from now on, no. They, as I said before, wanted all of us dead, and they will keep and continue doing whatever they can to achieve this dream.
Okay. We will be witness.
Bićemo svedoci negde u budućnosti. Pa šta radite ovih dana u Srbiji?
Right now I'm visiting many countries in Europe with the assistance of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Israel and our embassies, trying to share the truth about what's going on right now in Israel and about the conflict and the situation and the war. And sitting and speaking to you right now and hoping that more people will understand what we are really doing in Gaza Strip right now and try to talk to their hearts of the people so they will know that what we are doing right now is not just for the state of Israel, it's for the all Europe. And trying to change their minds from what is shown on usually on their popular TV stations about these pictures of miserable Palestinians and saying that all of this is Israel's fault. That's what I'm trying to do.
You will be in Belgrade?
Hoćete li biti u Beogradu od 25. do 30. novembra? Da li znate zašto vas to pitam?
No.
Poslednje informacije kažu, morat ću da pročitam, da.
Yes.
Po ugledu na košarkaške i fudbalske klubove iz Izraela, odlučili su da igraju utakmice u Beogradu. Makabi iz Haife i Makabi iz Tel Aviva igraće evropske utakmice u srpskoj prestonici.
I've been already on a game. I've been in Belgrade. I've been on Maccabi Tel Aviv game against what is the name of the Turkish team?
Fenerbahce.
Fenerbahce,
Yes.
yeah. And we won them
Yes.
on basketball, and I believe we will win them on other ground. And I hope that Belgrade as a good platform for sport and for other things will be a place where good things are happening.
Yes, but you lose from Kosovo and qualifies for
Da, ali izgubili ste od Kosova i ispali iz kvalifikacija za Evro. Ali to je bolna tema za Srbiju.
And for Israeli.
Imamo nekih zajedničkih tačaka. Hvala vam što ste bili naš gost. Hvala vam što delite svoje mišljenje sa našom publikom. Svi se nadamo miru u Izraelu i Gazi. Ne volimo da vidimo slike žrtava ni sa jedne strane. Hvala vam još jednom.
Hvala vama što ste nas gledali. Čuli ste iz prve ruke kako razmišljaju ljudi koji žive u Izraelu i koji, kako i sami kažu, brane svoje vrednosti i svoje ognjišta. Ako ste propustili ovaj intervju od početka, možete nas pratiti na svim društvenim mrežama, zapratite nas na Facebooku, Twitteru, YouTubeu, TikToku, Instagramu, gde god. Ostanite uz nas. Svako dobro, prijatno.